Genesis chapter 36. This is the account of the family line of Esau, who is also called Edom. Esau took wives from among the Canaanite women: Adah, the daughter of Elon the Hittite; Oholibamah, the daughter of Anna and granddaughter of Zibeon the Hivite; and Basemath, the daughter of Ishmael and sister of Nebaioth. Adah gave birth to Eliphaz for Esau. Basemath bore Reuel, and Oholibamah gave birth to Jush, Jalem, and Korah. These sons of Esau were born to him in the land of Canaan. Then Esau took his wives, sons and daughters, all the members of his household, his livestock and other animals, and all the possessions he had acquired in Canaan, and moved to a land some distance away from his brother Jacob. Their possessions were too great for them to remain together. The land where they were staying could not support them both because of their livestock. So Esau settled in the hill country of Seir. Esau is Edom. This is the account of the family line of Esau, the father of the Edomites in the hill country of Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Esau's wife Adah, and Reuel, the son of his wife Basemath. The sons of Eliphaz were Taman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, and Kenaz. Eliphaz also had a concubine named Timnah, and she bore Amalek to Eliphaz. These were descendants of Esau's wife Adah. The sons of Reuel were Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were descendants of Esau's wife Basemath. The sons of Esau's wife Oholibamah, the daughter of Anna and granddaughter of Zibeon, were Jush, Jalem, and Korah. These were the chiefs among Esau's descendants. The sons of Eliphaz, Esau's firstborn, were Taman, Omar, Zepho, Kenaz, Korah, Gatam, and Amalek. These were the chiefs of Eliphaz in Edom. They were descendants of Adah. The sons of Reuel, son of Esau, were Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were the chiefs of Reuel in Edom. They were descendants of Esau's wife Basemath. The sons of Esau's wife Oholibamah, the daughter of Anna and granddaughter of Zibeon, were Jush, Jalem, and Korah. These were the chiefs among Esau's descendants. The sons of Eliphaz, Esau's firstborn, were Taman, Omar, Zepho, Kenaz, Korah, Gatam, and Amalek. These were the chiefs of Eliphaz in Edom. They were descendants of Adah. The sons of Reuel, son of Esau, were Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were the chiefs of Reuel in Edom. They were descendants of Esau's wife Basemath. The sons of Oholibamah, Esau's wife, were Jush, Jalem, and Korah. These were the chiefs that came from Esau's wife Oholibamah, daughter of Anna. These were the sons of Esau, who is Edom, and these were their chiefs. These are the sons of Seir the Horite, who were living in the land: Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anna, Dishan, Ezer, and Dishon. These were the chiefs of the Horites, descendants of Seir in Edom. The sons of Lotan were Hori and Hemam. Lotan's sister was Timnah. The sons of Shobal were Alvan, Manhath, Ebal, Shepho, and Onam. The sons of Zibeon were Aiah and Anna. This is the Anna who discovered hot springs in the desert while grazing the donkeys of his father Zibeon. Anna had a son named Dishan and a daughter named Oholibamah. The sons of Dishan were Hemdan, Eshban, Ithran, and Karen. The sons of Ezer were Bilon, Zavan, and Akan. The sons of Dishon were Uzi and Aaron. These were the chiefs of the Horites: Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anna, Dishan, Ezer, and Dishon. These were the Horite chiefs according to their divisions in the land of Seir. Before any king reigned over the Israelites, these were the kings who ruled in Edom. Bela son of Beer became king in Edom. His city was named Dinhabah. When Bela died, Jobab son of Zerah from Bozrah succeeded him. When Jobab died, Husham from the land of the Timonites became king. When Husham died, Hadad son of Bedad became king. He defeated Midian in the territory of Moab. His city was named Abath. When Hadad died, Samlah from Misreka succeeded him as king. When Samlah died, Shaul from Rehoboth on the river succeeded him. When Shaul died, Baalhanan son of Akbio succeeded him. When Baalhanan died, Hadar succeeded him as king. His city was named Pau, and his wife's name was Mehetabel, daughter of Matred, granddaughter of Mezahab. These were the chiefs among Esau's descendants, by their names, according to their families and regions: Timnah, Alva, Jetheth, Oholibamah, Elah, Pinion, Kenaz, Taman, Mibzar, Magdiel, and Iram. These were the chiefs of Edom, according to their settlements in the land they occupied. Esau was the father of the Edomites. Genesis chapter 37. Jacob continued to live in the land of Canaan, where his father had stayed as a foreigner. This is the story of Jacob's family. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought a bad report about them to their father. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age. So he made for him a richly ornamented robe of many colors. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated Joseph and could not speak a kind word to him. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said, "Listen to the dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain in the field, when suddenly my sheaf stood upright while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." His brothers said to him, "Do you really think you will reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And because of his dreams and the way he spoke, they hated him all the more. Then Joseph had another dream and told it to his brothers. He said, "I had another dream, and this time the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." When he told this dream to his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, "What is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you?" His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. One day, Joseph's brothers had gone to pasture their father's flocks near Shechem. So Israel said to Joseph, "Your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, I want to send you to them." Joseph replied, "I'm ready." So Jacob said, "Go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring word back to me." He sent him from the valley of Hebron, and Joseph arrived at Shechem. There, a man found him wandering in the fields and asked him, "What are you looking for?" Joseph replied, "I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are pasturing their flocks?" The man said, "They've moved on from here. I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. But when they saw him from a distance, before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. "Here comes the dreamer," they said to each other. "Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these pits. We can say that a wild animal devoured him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." Reuben heard this and tried to rescue Joseph from their hands. "Let's not take his life," he said. "Don't shed any blood. Throw him into this cistern here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him." Reuben said this to rescue Joseph and take him back to his father. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the richly ornamented robe he was wearing, and they took him and threw him into a dry pit. Then they sat down to eat. As they looked up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain if we kill our brother and hide his blood? Come, let's sell him to these Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." His brothers agreed. When the Midianite merchants came by, the brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver. The traders took Joseph to Egypt. When Reuben returned to the pit and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes. He went back to his brothers and said, "The boy is gone. What am I going to do now?" Then they took Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat, and dipped the robe in its blood. They brought the robe to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it is your son's robe." Jacob recognized it and cried out, "It is my son's robe. A wild animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for his son for many days. All his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "I will continue to mourn until I join my son in the grave." So his father wept for him. Meanwhile, the Midianite merchants sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. Genesis chapter 38. Around that time, Judah left his brothers and went to stay with a man named Hira, who lived in Edom. While there, Judah saw the daughter of a Canaanite man named Shua. He took her as his wife and slept with her. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son, and Judah named him Er. Then she had another son and named him Onan. Later, she gave birth to a third son and named him Shelah. At the time of this last birth, Judah was living in Kezib. Judah arranged a marriage between his firstborn son Er and a woman named Tamar. But Er was wicked in the Lord's sight, so the Lord took his life. Then Judah told Onan, "Go and sleep with your brother's widow. Fulfill your duty to her as her brother-in-law and raise up offspring for your brother." But Onan knew that any child born would not be considered his. So whenever he slept with Tamar, he spilled his semen on the ground to avoid giving offspring to his brother. What he did displeased the Lord, so the Lord took his life too. Judah then said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Live as a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah grows up." But Judah was afraid that Shelah might also die, like his brothers, so Tamar went to live in her father's home. A long time passed. Judah's wife, the daughter of Shua, died. After Judah finished mourning, he and his friend Hira the Edolamite went up to Timnah to shear his sheep. When Tamar heard that her father-in-law was on his way to Timnah, she took off her widow's clothes, covered herself with a veil to disguise herself, and sat down at the entrance to Enaim, which was on the road to Timnah. She did this because she realized that although Shelah had grown up, she had not been given to him as a wife. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a prostitute because she had covered her face. He turned to her and said, "Let me come in to you," not knowing that she was his daughter-in-law. She asked, "What will you give me in return?" He replied, "I'll send you a young goat from my flock." She said, "Only if you leave something with me until you send it." He asked, "What should I give you as a pledge?" She answered, "Your seal, its cord, and your staff." So he gave them to her and slept with her, and she became pregnant by him. Afterward, she got up, left, and removed her veil, putting on her widow's clothes again. Judah later sent the young goat through his friend Hira to retrieve the pledge from the woman, but she was nowhere to be found. Hira asked the men of the place, "Where is the shrine prostitute who was by the road at Enaim?" They replied, "There's never been a shrine prostitute here." He returned to Judah and said, "I couldn't find her." And the people there said, "No shrine prostitute has ever been there." Judah said, "Let her keep what I gave her. We don't want to be mocked. I did send her the young goat, but you couldn't find her." About 3 months later, Judah was told, "Your daughter-in-law Tamar has acted like a prostitute, and now she's pregnant." Judah responded, "Bring her out and burn her." As they brought her out, she sent a message to Judah, "I am pregnant by the man who owns these items. See if you recognize the seal, cord, and staff." Judah recognized them and said, "She is more righteous than I, because I didn't give her to my son Shelah." And he did not sleep with her again. When it was time for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. During labor, one of them reached out his hand. The midwife tied a red thread around his wrist and said, "This one came out first." But then he drew his hand back, and his brother came out instead. The midwife exclaimed, "What a breach you have made for yourself." So he was named Perez. Afterward, his brother, the one with the red thread, was born, and he was named Zerah. Genesis chapter 39. When Joseph arrived in Egypt, he was purchased by Potiphar, an Egyptian officer of Pharaoh and the captain of the guard. He had been brought there by the Ishmaelites who had taken him from his brothers. The Lord was with Joseph, and because of that, he became successful in everything he did while living in his master's house. Potiphar noticed that the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in all he undertook. Pleased with him, Potiphar soon made Joseph his personal attendant and put him in charge of his entire household and everything he owned. From the time Joseph was put in charge, the Lord blessed Potiphar's household for Joseph's sake. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the fields. So Potiphar left everything in Joseph's care. He didn't concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Joseph, meanwhile, was well-built and handsome. After a while, Potiphar's wife began to desire Joseph and said to him, "Come, sleep with me." But Joseph refused. He said, "Look, my master trusts me with everything in this house. He has held back nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. So how could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" Even though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be around her. One day, Joseph went into the house to do his work, and none of the household servants were inside. She grabbed his cloak and again said, "Come, sleep with me." But Joseph tore himself away, leaving his cloak in her hand as he ran out of the house. When she saw that he had left his cloak in her hand and had run out, she called the household servants. "Look," she said, "this Hebrew slave was brought here to make fun of us. He came in to sleep with me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house." She kept the cloak beside her until her husband came home. Then she told him the same story, "That Hebrew slave you brought into our house tried to make a fool of me. But when I screamed for help, he left his cloak and ran out." When Potiphar heard his wife's account of what Joseph had supposedly done, he burned with anger. So he took Joseph and threw him into the prison where the king's prisoners were confined. But even there, the Lord was with Joseph and showed him steadfast love. He granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. Soon, the warden put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners and everything that was done there. Joseph was responsible for everything and everyone in the prison. The warden didn't worry about anything under Joseph's care, because the Lord was with him and made everything he did succeed. Genesis chapter 40. Sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their master, Pharaoh. He was furious with his two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and he had them thrown into the same prison where Joseph was confined, under the custody of the captain of the guard. They remained in prison for a while, and the captain of the guard assigned Joseph to attend to them. One night, both the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt each had a dream. Each dream had its own meaning. The next morning, when Joseph came to check on them, he noticed they looked troubled. He asked Pharaoh's officials, who were with him in the custody of his master's house, "Why do you look so sad today?" They replied, "We both had dreams last night, but there is no one to interpret them." Joseph said to them, "Interpretations belong to God. Please, tell me your dreams." The chief cupbearer went first. He said, "In my dream, I saw a vine in front of me, and on the vine were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and its clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into the cup, and placed it in Pharaoh's hand." Joseph told him, "This is what it means. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your position, and you will once again place Pharaoh's cup in his hand just as you used to when you were his cupbearer. But when all goes well with you, remember me. Please show me kindness by mentioning me to Pharaoh and helping me get out of this place. I was forcibly taken from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I have done nothing to deserve being put in this dungeon." When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given a favorable interpretation, he said to Joseph, "I too had a dream. On my head were 3 baskets of white bread. In the top basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head." Joseph answered, "This is what it means. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and impale your body on a tree, and the birds will eat away your flesh." Sure enough, 3 days later was Pharaoh's birthday. He gave a feast for all his officials. He brought the chief cupbearer and the chief baker out of the prison before them. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position so that he once again put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he had the chief baker impaled, just as Joseph had interpreted for them. Yet the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph, he forgot him. Joseph revealed the truth of their dreams, But while one was restored and the other perished, Joseph was forgotten in the darkness of the prison. What will happen next in God's plan for him? Find out in the next chapter of Genesis. Have a happy life listening to Holy Bible.